entertainment capital of the world, it's the Joe Cortez Show.
Hello, welcome to the Joe Cortez Show here in Las Vegas, Nevada, the entertainment capital of the world and the boxing capital of the world. Today is going to be a special show. I'm going to try to keep my mouth quiet at the beginning and let Lynn open up the show.
Well, a lot of people have been asking about Joe's career, and I thought, what a perfect day to share that. So I'm going to be asking questions today. I'm going to be kind of interviewing Joe and asking him all about his career. So let's start. You are well known around the world, and you're well known, of course, for your catchphrase, fair but firm, and as a referee, but you started out as a boxer. And some people don't know that. So I was thinking maybe you could start out by sharing with us a little bit about like the age that you started in boxing.
Well, I met the great Gaspar Indian Ortega back in 1955. Around that era, when I was about 12 years old, I met Gaspar Ortega. As you can see there, Gaspar Ortega and I got very close at a young age. I needed a role model, and I looked up to Gaspar Ortega as a person that can guide me in the right direction. I come from a single parent home, and there was 4 boys, and my mom had her hands full with 4 boys, and
no, I bet she did.
so Gaspar Ortega was kind of a robot. He moved into New York City. He's a Mexican fighter from Tijuana, and one of the first original Mexican fighters to come up to New York City. And Gaspar Ortega was looking to get down to the local gyms. He didn't know any English. I see him and his brother standing in front of my next building next to me where I lived in 99th Street Park in Madison in Manhattan. And Gaspar Ortega was standing there, and I said, hey, how you guys doing? They look kind of strange, you know. Mm-hmm. They're Mexicans. This is a Puerto Rican and Afro-American neighborhood. I see these 2 guys look like 2 Indians. And I said to myself, you know, who are you guys? You know, what are you doing around here? They said, we're fighters, and we're going to be fighting here in New York City. I said, really? I said, so when did you get up here to New York? They said, we just got here recently, but now we got to learn how to get down to 55th Street where they had the gym, the Steelman's gym. And then I said, okay, so I know how to get there. So I would show them how to get there by the subway. I would take them down there, and I would interpret for them as well. And that's how they all started. Next thing I know, I was going to the gym with Gaspar after school. I would go to the gym. Steelman's gym was one of the most famous gyms in the world on 8th Avenue around 57th Street.
Okay.
And I remember they paid 25 cents to go up to the gym up there to watch these fighters work out. So I had the luxury of being with Gaspar, several times a week, going to the gym. I would watch his fighters, and I'd be watching him, and Gaspar working out. He had a trainer by the name of Whitey Bimstein. It was a cut man, and Freddie Brown was a trainer. Freddie Brown was the trainer of the great Roberto Duran, and the second part of Duran's career. Anyway, I would go down to the gym on a regular basis. My brother Mike, he kind of was looking from the outside. My brother Mike, mm-hmm. Mike Cortez, got into boxing a year before me. So my brother got into the boys club and started working out there. Next thing I know, he started coming home with a couple of little medals and little small trophies. Uh-huh. Within the club, they would fight amongst themselves in the boys club. So they got to the Golden Gloves Championships tournament coming around, and my brother Mike, come on, Joe, get into boxing. And I said, I would throw punches, and he would laugh at me because I was so awkward. And little by little, I started picking up, and then we both joined the Golden Gloves in 1960. And I remember fighting my first fights in the Golden Gloves. Uh-huh. I was only 16 years young, and I was fighting guys. I remember there was a guy named Mike Rosario, and Mike Rosario was a top-notch, sub-novice coming up the ranks, and he was tough. We both made it to the Golden Gloves, and my first opponent was Mike Rosario. I ended up stopping him in the first round, and he's a great guy, great friend. Him and his wife, Negra, they're watching out there. They got a son, Mikey. Rosario also became, I think, a 5-6-time Golden Glove champion.
Oh, wow.
So that was amazing that, here I beat the father, and the son turned out to be much better by winning so many championships. And they're still involved. Mike and his wife, Negra, are still training fighters in Spanish Harlem. I take my hat off to them. And they're a big inspiration to so many folks in the neighborhood, in Spanish Harlem. Anyway, then my brother Mike and I won the first Golden Glove championships that year in Madison Square Garden with a sellout crowd of 15,000 fans at the old Madison Square Garden, the one that was on 51st Street and 8th Avenue. Anyway, then I went to the Spanish Golden Gloves, and I won the Spanish Golden Gloves that year as well. Then the following year, it was open competition, and my brother Mike and I got involved. And there's a photo of me knocking out Mike Rosario in the first round. And Victor Valle, who was a great trainer of Jerry Cooney, was the referee for that fight. And may his soul rest in peace, a good man. And there I was here, Mike Rosario. It was like, wow, he didn't know what the heck happened that night. Anyway, so the second year, my brother Mike and I joined the Golden Gloves again. Now we had to fight open competition, meaning the experienced fighters. I was 17 years young.
Were you considered at that time then an experienced fighter?
Well, with 1 year in the amateurs, you already consider an open, you have to fight open competition.
Okay.
So there's fighters in there that have been fighting 3, 4, 5 years, and the open novice and then open competition. Those are the guys that I had to face.
Okay.
It was my first year in the open division. I was 17 years of age, and my brother Mike and I went into the open tournament, Golden Glove tournament in 1961. So we ended up taking the open championships in 1961. Me as a bantamweight, my brother Mike as a lightweight.
Okay.
Then after the open competition, you have to get ready to fight for the Eastern Golden Glove Championships. My brother Mike and I went to the Eastern Golden Glove Championships. We had about 4 or 5 fights before you get to the semifinals. So we both made it to the semifinals. That night I got out there first. I knocked out my opponent in 2 rounds. My brother Mike came out right after me and won his semifinal fight that night with a, I think, 28-second knockout in the first round.
Wow.
Now we're going to the finals the same night. So now we're fighting twice in Madison Square Garden the same night. And I got up there again, and I ended up knocking out my second opponent.
How often does that happen? That you knock out 2 people in one night?
Well, not too often. far as anybody can remember right now, 1961, at the old Madison Square Garden, I was the last fighter to knock out 2 guys.
There you go.
The same night at Madison Square Garden. And there were like 12,500 some odd fans that night watching my brother and I win the Eastern Golden Glove Championship. My brother's second fight that night, he won a decision. And then from there, they sent us to Bear Mountain to train for about 2 weeks. Then from there, they flew us to Chicago to fight for the Intercity. They were the champions on the East Coast, representing New York, and the Chicago team. It was the West Coast fighters, so it was New York versus Chicago. It was considered a National Golden Glove Championship.
Okay.
And my brother Mike and I were the first brothers to win the National Golden Glove Championships the same night. Not as alternates, but as actual champions. We won the championships that night. So we had
Congratulations on that.
Yeah, well, here you are congratulating me. It's something that happened back in
Well, why not?
1961.
How many people congratulate you on that still?
Oh, my God. It's up. I still got to pinch myself. Can't believe I knocked out 2 guys the same night in Madison Square Garden. And I remember when I got inducted into the Hall of Fame, which we'll talk about later, but Ed Brophy, the director of the International Boxing Hall of Fame, when I got inducted in 2011 up in Canastota, New York, where Mike Tyson, Julio Cesar Chavez, myself, and Sylvester Stallone got this ring. And I remember Ed Brophy telling me, Joe, this here room here, we have a boxing ring. This ring came from Madison Square Garden. This is the original ring, was donated to us. And he says, Joe, this ring has a lot of history. Look at some of the great fighters, pictures on the wall, Joe Louis, Marciano, Muhammad Ali, Rocky Graziano, you name him. All the great fighters fought in that ring. And I told Ed Brophy, yeah, there's a lot of history behind that ring. I said, one night, there was this one fighter who knocked out 2 guys the same night. He said, who the hell was that? I said, you're talking to him. I knocked out 2 guys in Madison Square Garden, the Eastern Golden Glove Championship. He said, wow, that's amazing. I promised him that I got to bring him 2 photos of me knocking out those 2 opponents the same night.
And I'm sure you did, because you always keep your promise.
Well, I haven't kept that promise yet. So this year, I got to get him the photo.
There you go.
I got to get him that photo because I promised him I would get it to him soon. Anyway, but that was the beginning of my...
that was your amateur career.
Amateur career, yeah.
Okay, and then how did you move into your pro career then?
Well, after winning the championships, I won the Spanish Golden Glove Championship again that year. I won a total of 6 Golden Glove tournaments, winning the Novice and Open in New York City and the Easterns in New York City, and the Nationals and 2 Spanish Golden Gloves. So I just felt that it was time to move on.
Okay.
I was young. I was 18 years of age. I used to see Gaspar Ortega, my mentor, still fighting main events in Madison Square Garden. Gaspar Ortega was still alive today. His son, Mike Ortega, is a referee.
Right.
Yeah.
And he refereed a fight that was just recently on TV.
Yeah, he referees on a regular basis on television.
Mm-hmm.
So, but Gaspar Ortega got me, I felt it was time for me to move on to the pros. I went on to the pros at the age of 18, and I had about 4 pro fights. Then I lost, I believe it was my 5th pro fight against a fighter named Georgie Foster. And I lost to him in Madison Square Garden, the same ring where I knocked out 2 guys one night.
Yeah.
I lost my 4th or 5th pro fight to Georgie Foster from Toledo, Ohio, who was a pretty decent fighter. That was my first loss. I got discouraged, and I got so upset. And my brother Mike fought that night, and he won that night. I lost, and I said, I said, let me get there. I want to get myself stronger. I joined the Army, so I had a short stint in the Army. And I did my time in the Army, but while I was in there, I was still able to have some pro fights. I would get away on leave or on the weekend across the border into Mexico, and I would fight in Mexico.
Okay.
And I had some fights when Gaspar Ortega was fighting on some of those main events in Mexico. He would take me down with him, and I would fight. So, but when I got out of the Army, I continued my pro career, and I had a total of an 18-1 record as a pro.
Wow.
With that 1 loss.
That's good.
But I wasn't going anywhere in boxing, so I got kind of discouraged. I said, I'm giving it up. I felt, I'm not going. I had like 3 different managers, and Gaspar was trying to move me along. The Gaspar Ortega, who had 185 professional fights when he retired.
Wow.
In 1965, if you look at BoxRec, you see Gaspar Indian Ortega had 27 fights in 1 year. Yes, you heard it right, 27 fights in 1 year. There were weeks where he was fighting 2 or 3 times a week.
Wow.
He was, in 1965, and he had me fighting a lot of his undercards. Some of them were in Mexico and were not recorded on BoxRec. And I promised Henry Hastrap that I would try to find some more information about those dates of when Gaspar fought, see if we could find anything about my undercard fights. I don't remember some of the...
You mean in Mexico?
In Mexico, yes.
Okay.
But anyway, BoxRec has me for 11-1 in the pros, but it was actually 18-1.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember the great Cantinflas, Mario Moreno, a Mexican entertainer, is a comedian, actor, and one day he saw me fight in Mexico in Monterrey. Man, he tapped me on the shoulder after my fight, and he says, Joe, he said, you'll be champion one day. I knocked out a guy with a left hook. Just 1 punch, you get out there, box, a couple of rounds, get to one left hook, boom. Knocked this guy out cold. He was laying out for a couple of minutes. I was a little scared. He was laying down too long. Yeah. And you want to put the guy to sleep, but not that long in boxing.
No.
But anyway, so that was the beginning of my
your pro career.
Yeah.
And you added a little bit, you touched on the Army, so you were able to do a few things in the Army that...
Well, I was able to train some amateur fighters, because they would not let me fight in the Army. Of course, I knew that going in, because I already was a professional fighter. But I was the youngest guy in the gym there. I used to go there to work out. And then they told me, Joe, you can't be on the boxing team. I said, I know. They said, because you're already a professional fighter. I said, Joe, how can this guy be so good at such a tender age? 18 years old, a bantamweight, skinny little tall guy, but I can box. I finally had one of those championships in the amateurs, and they considered my brother and I 2 outstanding fighters. They call them the Cortez brothers out of New York City. If you look on Wikipedia or on Google, you put down Cortez brothers, and you'll see when Mike and I show up with our history of the amateur highlights that we had back then.
That's exciting. And, being that you're a trainer, you also do seminars, which is really, you do for Fair But Firm, you do your seminars. And do you do those online? How do those work? How have you done those in the past?
Well, sanctioning bodies called me out to give, like WBC have used me on numerous occasions the last couple of years, sent me around the world to give seminars and teach referees how to become, sharpen their skills as a referee and how to start. So I'm going to be having my own Fair But Firm Boxing Academy online to start teaching referees from the amateur ranks to how to become a professional referee. So I'm looking forward to doing that here real soon.
Absolutely.
I believe next year you will be hearing about the Faber Firm Boxing Academy seminars that will be given here in Las Vegas. So we're looking to get a lot of individuals around the world to get on board and join the Faber Firm Boxing Academy. You become a member, and you automatically qualify to start going to our seminars. And we'll talk more about that at a later date.
Sure, sure. So let's speak about that. Fair but firm, that's your catchphrase as a referee.
Yeah.
How did that come about? How did fair but firm? Tell us how that came about.
That's a good question. A lot of the fans know me as Mr. Fair but Firm. They say, Joe, where did that come about? I was doing an interview one time, and while doing this interview, they said, Joe, what does it take to be a good referee and be respected at the same time? Be fair with the fighters. I said, well, you got to be fair with the fighters,
sure.
But at the same token, you got to be firm. In other words, you got to let them do their thing, but take control. So I told fair but firm. So as I did the interview, I watched the interview later on where I said that I would be fair, but I'd be firm with the fighters. And I said, I kind of like that, fair but firm. I said, you know what, Mills Lane has his catchphrase, let's get it on. and I said, well, I'm going to do one too, but mine going to be a little different. Mine going to be, I'm fair, but I'm firm. And of course, when I've done other things in boxing, my career, everybody wanted me to use that catchphrase.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're known for that. You are definitely known for that. So who was your inspiration in refereeing? And then also share with us your memorable fights that you refereed.
Okay, well, it was Pat Mashier, who was a policeman in New York City back in the 50s, and he started refereeing my fights in the 60s when I was winning the Golden Glove Championships in New York City, along with my brother Mike. And in 1969, I had decided to move to Puerto Rico to give myself another career, being I had retired as a fighter. And then when I got to Puerto Rico, I was at this hotel, and the El Conquistador Hotel, which is part of the El San Juan Hotel Corporation at the time. And so I got back into I got that little urge, that little fire inside of me. That I went to a local gym, they had boxing there, and I started going there to work out, to stay in shape. While working at the El Conquistador Hotel, I was still a front desk clerk at the time, and then I kept working my way up in the hotel, in the hospitality industry, and I got the bug. I want to come back. So next thing I know, the owner of the hotel, Lou Piro, I approached him and I told him I was a 6-time Golden Glove champion. I wanted to see about getting myself back into pros. I had fought in. I told him I had 17-1 record at the time, and I wanted to see if I can continue. Would he manage me? He said, all right. He talked to some friends of his. Yeah, he said, I heard about you and your brother in New York, the Golden Glove Championships. He said, I'll take you. So I had another fight in Puerto Rico. I fought a Dominican fighter from at a place called La Cancha, the country club in Puerto Rico. And he managed me for that fight. And I fought a fighter by the name of Sal La Chapelle, a Dominican fighter, and I ended up beating him with no problems. And it was a 4-round fight just to get myself back in the groove.
Sure.
I was only training like 3 months after a 3.5-year layoff. Came back, I won with no problem, but then I said, you know what? My wife Sylvia and the family, they said, Joe, you don't have to be involved with this. With boxing, we don't need this pressure. You're doing okay in the hotel. Why don't you stick with the hotel? And I really like the hotel industry. Sure. So Lou Piro, I went back to him, the owner of the hotel, and I told him that I wanted to continue, with the hotel, with the hospitality business. I don't want to continue fighting. He shook my hand. He said, you make sure you give me all you got. I make sure you get to the top. And sure enough, I became front office manager. After front office manager, they made me reservations manager. I was in charge also of front office. Then before you know it, a year and a half later, they made me assistant manager of the hotel. Then next thing I know, I'm executive assistant manager of the hotel. So then I liked it. I was there for 8 years. Then I came back to New York. In New York, while at the El Conquistador Hotel in 1976, Pat Mashier, you asked me who was my inspiration, how did I get started? Pat Mashier was one of the guests at the hotel. When he came there, he recognized me by one of the posters in the hotel, one of the flyers in the hotel had my name, Joe Cortez, assistant manager. He called the operator, can I speak with Joe Cortez? And he was talking to me, and he said, are you one of the Cortez brothers? I said, yes, I am. I went to the lobby to greet him. He was there for a week. He gave me his phone number. The following year, I was moving back to New York, and I stayed with the LSI One Hotel Corporation. They had me as casino operations manager out of the New York sales office. So Pat Massey, I called him up. He said, Joe, have you ever thought of becoming I want to get you involved with the referees and the amateurs. I said, wow, I never thought about that. I'll take a shot. He called Johnny Defoe. He said, call Johnny Defoe, he'll get you on the right track. He said, Joe, bring down put on white slacks and white sneakers. I'll give you a white T-shirt, Please Athletic League T-shirt. Start refereeing these young kids. I started refereeing the young kids. The Golden Gloves Championship was right around the corner. He said, you look pretty decent. We're going to put you in the Golden Glove tournaments. I started refereeing Golden Glove fights. And one night there was a show in Brooklyn. They had 27 fights. And a big snowstorm. And 3 or 4 judges showed up, but no referee showed up. I was the only referee.
Wow.
Yeah, and I ended up doing 27 fights that night. And people say, wow. So I was doing 27 fights that night. And then next year, the Golden Glove tournament, the quarterfinals around the corner. They refereed the quarterfinal. Pat Massey said, Joe, you're not going to be doing nothing in the other than the quarterfinal. Then, so, they called me for the semifinal. He said, it's unbelievable. Then they called me again to do the finals, 2 championship fights in Madison Square Garden. I remember one of them was Juan Laporte. And they said after the Golden Glove tournament, Frank Morris, the deputy commissioner, New York State Athletic Commission, called me and said, Joe, I saw you working the championship fight last week. He said, you have great skills. I want to turn you pro. I said, I've only doing this 6 months. He said, Joe, don't waste your time in the amateurs. We're going to work with you in the amateurs, in the pros. So they got me in the pros, working every show they had in New York City. They working the 4 rounders, 6 rounders for about a year or so. A year and a half after turning pro, I'm doing my first main event, 10-round fight on NBC. And that was really another stepping stone for me. That was the beginning of my pro career. I ended up refereeing for 35 years.
Wow. And how did you end up here in Las Vegas?
Okay, great. I was refereeing 15 years already in New York. I'm already a household name as a referee. Back east, Nevada was looking for a referee. They had Bill Lanes and Richard Steele, Carlos Padilla, David Pearl. But they were looking for another young referee for Nevada. And I got recruited by the Nevada State Athletic Commission. I remember Dr. Nave and Dr. Elias Ghanem and Mark Ratner. These guys really approached me, and I remember we were in Thailand on a cruise with the WBC convention. That's where they approached me and said, Joe, if you come to Nevada, you'll be a top-notch referee. But I was afraid to make the move. It's not easy to pick up your family and move over. But I started, they called me to do a Larry Holmes and Michael Spinks fight as a judge. Not as a referee, but as a judge. I judged that fight. And I remember I gave it to Larry. They had a split decision. 2 judges gave it to Michael Spinks, and one judge gave it to Larry Holmes. And that was me. I gave the fight to Larry Holmes. Everybody was booing, booing, booing. I thought they were booing me. And the commissioner said, Joe, no, they're not booing you, Joe. They're booing the other 2 guys because you were the only one who had it right.
Oh, so there you go.
So next thing I know, they called me back again to judge another fight. It was Sugar Ray Leonard and Roberto Duran, the 3rd fight. After Nomas, the 3rd one. And I judged that fight. Then they said, Joe, we got to get you out here. You want to work as a referee, you got to be a resident. I was so hesitant. Then next thing I know, we're going to make an exception. They called me down to referee a Greg Page fight on HBO. And then I still didn't make the move. Then they called me down to do another fight. Jeff Fennick and Suma Nelson at Caesar's Palace Outdoors, main event. And they said, Joe, if you're a resident, these are the kind of fights you're going to get on a regular basis. So then about 6 months later, I decided to make the move. I came out to Vegas back in '92, and the rest is history.
There you go.
Yeah.
And the most memorable?
Oh, my God, there's been so many ones. Julio Cesar Chavez, when he fought Greg Haugen in Mexico City, 132,000 fans. I refereed Mike Tyson. You see there on the screen, that right there, I'm taking 2 points from Mike Tyson for intentionally headbutting his opponent. That was his last fight against Kevin McBride, and that was another one. And of course, Mike Tyson when he knocked out Larry Holmes. And I've done Julio Cesar Chavez and Oscar De La Hoya. George Foreman knocking out Michael Moore for the heavyweight championship of the world. There's a fight there with Kevin McBride, Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson was trying to break Kevin McBride's arm inside the clinches. I'm warning Mike Tyson right there. "Man, you got to cut this out." But I was very careful to make sure he didn't bite my ears off when I took the points. But it was great referees. Some of those great fights out there those days.
That's true. And, we cannot forget the fact that you've been in movies as well. Not only are you well known for your refereeing, but movies. So share with us about that.
Yeah, I did. I refereed the movie with Rocky Balboa. I remember one day I was doing some fights. I was sitting down waiting to go into the ring. I get a tap on the shoulder. I look around. Sylvester Stallone, he was sitting there with Sugar Ray Leonard. He said, "Joe, I'm doing a movie, and I want you to be the referee, Rocky Balboa." I said, "All right." Well, I gave him my information. They said, I get a call from his agency that, "Joe, you're going to be the referee for the Rocky Balboa movie." Then I did one with Eddie Murphy. The people contacted me to do one with Eddie Murphy. We filmed that movie up in Vancouver, and that was a great movie called I Spy. I had a lot of fun doing that movie with Eddie Murphy. And then I did one with Antonio Banderas, Woody Harrelson, played to the bone. And I did one with Wesley Snipes, Undisputed. At the end of the movie, they had a little small clip of me refereeing Wesley Snipes' opponent, Ben Rames, for that movie. So, I've been involved. And people say, "Joe, how do you get in all these movies? I mean, do you have an agent?" I said, "I don't have an agent. The people just watch me on TV doing the fights, and they keep choosing me to be the referee for their movies."
That's right. Well, you're well known for that. So you mentioned early on, too, about having being inducted into the Hall of Fame. You're in how many Hall of Fames?
Well, I was first inducted into the New Jersey Hall of Fame. Then I was inducted into the World Boxing Hall of Fame out of California. Then I got inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame. That's the one with Mike Tyson, Julio Cesar Chavez, Sylvester Stallone, Katz Azul, National Bearing String, and myself got inducted in 2011. Then in 2013, I got inducted here in Nevada Boxing Hall of Fame. So I've been in 4 Hall of Fames, and I'm still getting some little notes here and there. "Joe, you're being considered for other Hall of Fames in other states." Whatever comes.
That's fantastic.
I still got to pitch myself. I think there's other great referees out there that deserve to be in the Hall of Fame as well. But I guess, I've been around for so long, refereeing all these fights. I referee close to 170, about 100, from what they tell me, 176 World Championship fights.
Wow.
There could be a lot more, but I don't count IBO, WBU, all those other small, not too popular sanctioning body. I don't count those as World Championship fights, even though I have done many of those.
Wow.
So I'm way over 200 World Championship fights, but I'm only going to go with the 4 sanctioning bodies: WBC, WBA, IBF, and WBO.
Okay. So speaking of the Nevada Boxing Hall of Fame, you actually were the inspiration to get the Nevada Boxing Hall of Fame up and here in Nevada. It's a brick and mortar that's here in Nevada, and can you share a little bit about that?
Yes, there's a Tad and
Chad and Tim?
And Tim, from the Heads Up Museum. We're helping them out a lot. They want to do something with me with the Heads Up Museum, which is a trick art museum here at the Boulevard Mall in Las Vegas, right off Maryland Parkway. And they want to do something with a little mural of me on the wall. So they were talking to me. They took me around, showing me the museum. It was the old J.C. Penney, like 50,000 square feet.
Yeah, it's
and
big.
that was beautiful. If you're ever to Las Vegas, you got to come into the Heads Up Museum. And it's really a great setup. So I told them, how about that big space you guys have at the Nevada Boxing Hall of Fame? Doesn't have a facility. Tell us a little bit about the Nevada Hall of Fame. I explained to them, and I sold them on the idea to give us that space where we're able to have now. Nevada has the Boxing Hall of Fame, which there's other the New York Hall of Fame. They have the California Hall of Fame, Chicago Hall of Fame, Florida Hall of Fame, Philadelphia, Jersey Hall of Fame. They all have Hall of Fame, but they don't have a brick and mortar. They don't have a facility.
Right.
This is the first one besides the International Hall of Fame in Canastota, New York. This is the first state that has a real, actual Hall of Fame exhibit within the Heads Up Museum. So I say, if you're out in Las Vegas, my buddy there, Bills Lanes, one of the great referees, he's the one that used to say, let's get it on. Get it on. My buddy, Bills Lanes, he had a stroke, and he's doing okay. He's up in Reno, and we love him so much. He's an inspiration to so many other referees in boxing. Anyway, so that's how it happened with the Nevada Hall of Fame. And we're there. We want more folks to come into the Nevada Boxing Hall of Fame. I'm there several times during the week to help out and give little tours and to explain to the people what all those special...
The history that's there.
Yeah, the history of Nevada, how it started back in the early 1900s and where it's at today, and all the memorabilia, artifacts that are there for some of the great champions in the last several decades.
Right.
Yeah.
And it is often discussed that Joe needs to write a book.
Yeah, well, my friend Judy, Dr. Cologne's wife, Judy Cologne, out of New York City, she's been telling me for the last couple of years, Joe, we will write a book, and I promise her that we're going to start something this year. The year's not over, so you can best believe you're going to start hearing something real soon about Joe writing his life story. You share a little bit about what's going on with me now in boxing, but my life story will be coming out in a book. I'm sure it'll probably be named Fair But Firm, Joe Cortez.
Well, that would be fitting, right?
Right.
So before we wrap it up today, you've shared about your book, and also one of your daughters in particular. All three of your daughters are very inspiring.
Yes.
But Cindy is definitely an inspiration to you. She is your hero.
Yes, Cindy was involved in an auto accident about 21 years ago, and she ended up a quadriplegic. And she happens to be my inspiration as well, because she's done so much to help other individuals out there in like health condition. She's in a wheelchair. She's paralyzed from the chest down. But you know what? She said, Daddy, there's nothing wrong with me. Every day she gets in her car. She could drive. Yes, she can drive. She does a lot of things. She goes shopping. She goes to the gym 4 or 5 days a week to work out on a regular basis. And she's very strong and going forward.
Absolutely.
And I've been married 54 years, and we got the 3 daughters, Cindy, Sandy, and Christine, and my 4 grandchildren. Ricky, who came back from Afghanistan about 5 years ago, and Afghanistan, and Ricky Bryce, who's a football player, and he goes to college, Snow College in Utah, and then I have my 2 youngest granddaughters, Ayana and Maya, who are gymnastic, who like to play. They did they're always flipping in the air.
They're always flipping in the air. That's true.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us today so that you could learn more about Joe Cortez and who he is behind the scenes. Thank you and have a great day.
Take care.